What is up, people? Happy Marine Layer Podcast Sunday Night Live. Let's get Lyle in here. What's up, buddy?
How is everybody? Somebody says positivity tonight. Well, we'll see. A little.
Positivity. What's that?
Seahawks won. That warrants positivity, right?
Oh, that was pretty positive. And the Mariners won this weekend.
Although, is it too little, too late?
Probably.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Probably is. Just a reminder, guys, again, welcome in Marine Layer Podcast Sunday Night Live. We're live here on YouTube and on Instagram every single Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to go check out all of our social media channels at Marine Layer Pod, TikTok, Instagram. Go find us on YouTube. Twitter as well. Go find us on YouTube. Go look for the teal logo, Marine Layer Podcast on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. We're here to answer your guys' questions, both in the Instagram chat and in the YouTube chat. And if you really, really, really want us to answer one of your questions, head on over to our YouTube stream, send us a super chat, and we'll get to you right away. We promise. So,
Well, this isn't a super chat, but man, Jimmy on Instagram coming in hot. End the podcast and end appreciation for the Mariners. Wow.
why? And the podcast. That doesn't sound like any fun.
No, it doesn't. But again, we answer the questions from the people, and this is what the people sent in. And the podcast.
What are we supposed to do instead?
I was gonna say we're gonna have a lot more free hours all of a sudden.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Come up with a hobby?
Yeah, I don't
like get into painting or Lyle, this is when people pick up golf.
Well, not in the fall in Seattle, they don't.
Well, they don't, but say all the time you and I spend podcasting, that's when people golf.
That's
for the
true.
most part. Those hours we dedicate, they would instead dedicate to golfing instead.
That's true. Like, I mean, I'll just use the show again as an example. Salk plays a lot of golf, but Salk also doesn't have a podcast that when he's not hosting the show in the mornings, has hours and hours per week to dedicate his time to. So what does he do? He likes to play golf and spend time with his family. So it makes sense.
So it works out. Pretty well.
Yeah, it does. But us, we don't yet have the time for golf. So.
Well, eventually when we make the big bucks and do this podcast full time, then we could golf. Because
we
could golf in the morning, then worry about doing podcast stuff in the afternoon and evening. That'd be a good balance.
That's true. Or at least on the weekends for golf.
Yeah, at least on the weekends. You know, I'll give us this. There's also the fact that neither you or I are particularly good at golf, nor do we have the money to golf. So I'm not going to speak for you. I'm going to speak for myself. I don't really feel like dropping $100 on a round. I'd spend $100 on something else. But unfortunately, Lyle, also that time on the weekend we spend then when it's nice out, we're watching the Mariners instead.
That's true too. Yeah, TJ says I'll spend my $100 towards something else, like his weekly coffee bill.
I don't spend that much money on coffee. You probably think I spend way more money on coffee.
I know.
I'm
exaggerating.
I will say in the last 6 months of my own money I've spent on coffee, it can't be over $100.
I'm exaggerating, but yeah. So.
Oh no, I'm serious. So that's a round of golf though. That's one round of golf in 6 months.
Yeah. I'm not great at golf. I mean, there was a point in time during COVID where I played a little bit more often. I would probably shoot I don't know, somewhere between 110 and 120, which is not great, but yeah. If I play more often, maybe it get better. But I think that's going to be for another time.
Yeah, probably. Let's get to some questions here. Again, send us some questions here on the Instagram chat and the YouTube chat. I know it's football season now. A lot of people are watching the Seahawks. I see a lot of people excited about the Seahawks in the comment section. Certainly we're excited too, but this is a baseball podcast, so we'll at least give the Mariners a little bit of priority here today if you have some Mariners questions.
Although I will say this live stream's for the people. So if people are sending in Seahawks questions, we'll answer them. Yes, we will prioritize Mariners questions, but we'll still answer them. For example, Mr. Guarded on YouTube says, "Are you guys going to do a Seahawks pod now?" ? Well, not yet. No. The answer is no. We don't have any immediate plans to. Although you never know how things can change in the future.
Yeah, we don't. Will we have time to do that? That's really biting into our golf time.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. I'd love to. It'd be a blast, but it would be a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. Again, Steve says he missed the last few Sundays. How do we feel about the Mariners looking to extend management? Does that mean they're more likely to offload big players in the offseason? So, in terms of looking at a more long term approach to building now that Jerry is under contract for next season, Steve, I'm going to say personally, I don't think if they were to do that, I don't think they would do that because they're extending Jerry Dipoto through next year. I don't think that is the reason they're doing so. I think they're doing that because they're not willing to increase the payroll because it's just what you're going to have to do at that point,
Hmm.
which is
Right.
unfortunate. It's not because Jerry, now that he's extended, would sell the vision. Oh, hey, we're going to build towards 2027 now. In which
Hmm.
case, Lau and I would both vehemently be angry at that.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think the two correlate. If they don't spend money, I think it's because they're choosing not to spend money. So yeah, I don't think one has to do with the other. We also know that Mariners coaches, at least according to Ryan Divish, do not get paid top dollar in the league. In fact, they usually make toward the bottom third. So yeah, I don't think the two really have that much to do with each other. So yeah, like if they're not going to spend money, it's because they're choosing not to spend money. It's not because they're extending coaches. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah.
Oh, I will
Seeing
say.
Emerson.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. No.
Well, I was going to say there's an Emerson Hancock question in there, and I'm
Uh,
trying to find his game logs.
while you look for it, I've got one more to ask. This is from Gmo, who's usually in these live streams on Sundays. He says, I listen to your weekly recordings at the gym. I've lost 15 pounds in the last 3 months since I discovered the pod. Am I going to be fat this winter? I've got news for you, Gmo. Number one, no. Actually, sorry, let me say no for two reasons. One, you're going to keep it your routine. Not only, like, see, this is what you tune in for. Not only are we a podcast, we're also half motivational speakers. Not really, but I'm going to try to be. You're going to keep it your routine and keep going to the gym because you're on a great track right now, it sounds like. And unlike other people that like to start to get a little lazier about getting there in the winter, you're not, and you're going to keep at it and you're going to keep your routine going. Number two, in correlation to this podcast, no, we still do two podcasts a week in the off season. We find things to talk about. We get into all the off season stuff. So we don't just take a break all of a sudden. So if you need something to listen to at the gym, there will still be two podcasts out a week. Honestly, in some ways, off season content's even more fun than in season content. In some ways. So yeah,
A
there will
lot of
still be two.
theorizing.
Yeah, there will still be two podcasts a week.
You'll have plenty of time to listen to it. And thanks again. Thank you, like Gmo especially. Like that is awesome, and we're glad to be able to, be a tiny percentage of a contribution to that achievement, which is, I mean, just that's awesome to think that we're helping out that way. So Gmo, thanks a lot for that. But it doesn't happen without you actually going to the gym and doing it too. So keep at that. Even if it's a day that we haven't released a podcast. It's that's cool. Thank you so much. I'll say to answer the Emerson Hancock question in the from Seth in the YouTube chat. He's like, "Well, how's Emerson been doing lately?" Because there's just a good chance that Emerson's now going to replace Luis Castillo in the rotation. We don't know the severity of the hamstring strain, but if it's any if it's beyond just a mild strain that Luis can't bounce back from in 2 days, then I'm guessing Emerson Hancock's going to make the next start in Luis's turn of the rotation. And lucky for the Mariners, I mean Emerson's just rolling along. Down in Tacoma, he's gone at least 6 in 5 consecutive starts. 6-2, 6 shutouts, 6-2, 6-4, 6-1. So he's on a pretty good roll down in Tacoma, and we're selfishly as a podcast really looking forward to having Emerson back if that's the move the Mariners decide to make. Though I did like have this tiny inkling in my mind that if they're gonna sort of tamper down Emerson's innings, which I don't like what's his total innings count on this season? Because he's at 94 minor league innings. He's at 45, 45 and a third big league innings, 94 minor league innings. That is what 100 ballpark about 131 innings for Emerson Hancock this season. So he is also a little bit past his previous innings benchmarks. There could be a chance now that they've quasi expanded the rosters that they piggyback I think I would be kind of excited. I know some people want with the team struggling this month and not playing a really entertaining version of baseball outside of the last 5 games. Want another reason to watch the game. Well, when you would want to watch the game if Logan Evans and his, who's now been tampered down on his innings, Brandon Garcia's been doing the same as they reach their innings counts. What have you piggyback to? Because you have the extra pitcher, and you could utilize that and give your fans another reason to watch.
That'd be sick. And for two guys that we're big fans of, we'd be fired up. The only thing I wonder is those guys are also starting to have their innings started to be limited and tampered down. Where if you look at both Logan and Brandon's outings as of late, because so each of those guys, Brandon Garcia started today and he threw 3 innings. Each of those guys should make one more start in the regular season. And then Arkansas is going to play in the playoffs. We can get to a question about that in a minute because we had a friend of ours send something. They're going to play in the playoffs, and will one of those guys pitch in the playoffs? We'll see. Obviously, big league games would take priority over that. But I do wonder, because those guys seem like their innings are starting to get managed more, that they actually would roll with Emerson in the final few weeks of the season. Because if you look it up and you time it out, it would only be 3 starts that Emerson has to make in the final 3 weeks, if Luis was even going to miss all that time. Maybe Luis would miss. We don't know the severity of it yet. Somebody asked that question too. It's like, what's the severity of Castillo's injury? They said hamstring strain. Could he make his next start? It's possible. Could he miss the rest of the season, aka his final 3 starts? It's also possible. We're gonna have to wait and find out. But if he were to miss the rest of his starts, I would assume, because he's more built up, more experienced, you would see Emerson throw the final 3 games. And if they were trying to limit his innings too, maybe he'd go 4 to 5 innings, and then you have Jonathan Diaz throw a couple out of the bullpen rather than the latter. Look, I'd love to see Logan and Brandon up in the big leagues, but if I'm going off of if I'm going off the tea leaves of the Mariners and what they've given us, I would assume those guys are going to be done when their season's done.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's a fair explanation for that, but would
yeah,
be fun.
it would be really fun. Yeah, it'd be really fun. And to that point, our friend Marcus sent us a note in the Instagram comments. He said the Arkansas Travelers just clinched a playoff berth. Yes, they did. Shout out the Travs. Anyone from the team you guys have particularly enjoyed watching this season? Well, yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of friends of this pod, potential future friends of this pod, and guys we root our tails off for that are on that team. So yeah, where do we want to start with this? We can start with
Logan,
Reed Van Scooter, like a bunch of the guys in this rotation. Brandon Garcia, which, yeah, there's a decent amount of people in the live stream. All right, I'll give people a little, not promise, but a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. There is a chance, we think a pretty good chance, when the season's done, we will have another traveler on this podcast. We think in the coming weeks we're going to have Brandon Garcia on. So we don't want to make you the promise of promises, because obviously you never know what can happen, but we think in the coming weeks that's going to be another podcast guest of ours. So another guy that's had an awesome year, good friends with Logan Evans, has a chance to win minor league pitcher of the year. I would assume the guy that's going to win minor league pitcher of the year is one of those guys, right? It's either going to be Logan Evans or it's going to be Brandon Garcia. So
well, it could be Michael Morales too. He's making his case.
Or him. Yeah. So
also in the Travs rotation.
Yeah. So like the Travs rotation, in terms of the guys that throw on the 6 days, almost all of them we have interest in, because again, you have Evans, Garcia, Morales, Van Scooter, and then a couple others. Obviously, there's interest in Harry Ford and Cole Young, because those guys are premier prospects, and those guys have been in Double A all year. And to watch their progression, obviously, always has significant interest, because we will probably see both of them at some point next season. Who are we forgetting on this team? Who else? Well, Ben Williamson was another.
Yeah, and Ben's been he might win minor league player of the year, the way he's going.
It's possible. Him. Who else we got? I mean, Arkansas has got a bunch of fun guys on this team. Obviously, Troy Taylor was interesting before he got to the Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Hogan Windish had the 4 home run game, that was pretty electric.
Yeah.
And there's other guys that are worth keeping tabs on. Victor Labrada, right? Juan Mercedes, another guy that's like very underrated, had a good year for Arkansas. Yeah, now we're just rattling off minor leaguers. But point being, like, that Arkansas team, especially the pitchers, have been very, very noteworthy all season.
Absolutely. It's been a fun team. Not the most prospect pedigree the Mariners have had on that Travelers team in the last 5 or so years, but in terms of production and fun players, absolutely. And definitely, which is the most important part, future contributors to the Mariners in
Right.
some sense. Like they're real pieces on that team.
100%. That's like all the guys we named have a real potential future to contribute to the Seattle Mariners winning games. Now, you just sparked another question from me before we get to the next one. You said it's not quite the prospect pedigree they've had as they've had in the past in Arkansas. And I think what you're relating to, referring to, is the 2019 Travelers, right? When it was Kelnick, Evan White, Kyle Lewis, who else? Justice Sheffield, Justin Dunn,
Logan.
Logan Gilbert. So I'm guessing you're talking about that group, right?
Yeah.
Will the second half 2024 Travelers slash first half 2025 Travelers, second half 2025, or the first half 2026 Travelers hold a candle to the 2019 team? And here's who I mean by that. If we judge on what we think the timelines are going to be, that'd be Colt Emerson, Lazaro Montez, Michael Arroyo, Durangelo Senja. Who am I missing here? Maybe like early if you're going to go early 20, like by mid-season of 2026, Ty Pete, Johnny Farmelo should be there by
Michael
then.
Arroyo.
I said Arroyo, yeah, Johnny
Oh.
Farmelo. It's going to be like all those guys together. Felnine's probably going to be a little bit behind those guys with the way he's tracking these days. I guess you never know what can happen, but could that group of guys hold the candle to the 2019 team?
The 2019 team is notable because those guys, most of them played significant amount of time in the big leagues. Like talking about prospects like that and comparing teams, or I think it's a little far out to make that comparison because we can think of that 2019 team highly because we've seen what those players have done after they were a Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Like think of this for example. Do you remember the 21 Aqua Sox? Remember how we talked about that team?
With Julio and Kirby?
Oh, it was Julio and Kirby, but the rest of the lineup was just stacked. I think Noelvi was on that team too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was.
Noelvi was there. They outscored teams by like 8 runs a game. They were insane. But you sit there and you look at that team, it's like, okay, it was like Julio, Kirby, and
Zach Deloach.
Deloach. Again, not a big leaguer with the Mariners. Hasn't been great with the White Sox.
But I think
Like,
every guy I just named has a much, much higher ceiling as a prospect than guys like Deloach.
but we're also projecting a minor league team more than a year in advance. So
It's just an exercise.
yeah, I don't. To answer your question, I don't know. They will look really good, but
Mm-hmm.
we're like there's a long way for all those guys to get there between now and then. There's a lot
Yeah.
that can happen between now and then.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, what else do we
So
have?
there's a couple questions here in the YouTube chat from Sam and Burrito that I think we can take here pretty quick. How much are the Mariners paying Jerry? We have no idea. That's not public. Could he take a pay cut to pay the players more? No, he's not making that much money. Jerry's salary and the players' salaries are completely separate when it comes down to the balance sheet. Here's another one, though. Let's say the Mariners are in contention down the stretch. Like they turn it on. Like they're 3.5 out of the wild card today. They're now 4 back in the division. Would you then be worried, Lyle, that the Rangers are getting DeGrom and Scherzer back for that final Rangers series?
No, because the Mariners have to be in a position first to even worry about that. And are the Rangers even going to bring back Jacob DeGrom at this point? They're doing load management with Corey Seager because they know their season's over. Are they really going to bring back DeGrom at this point? Does it serve any purpose? I would assume they're just going to wait until the start of 2026. I can't know that for sure, but if I were to guess, I don't know what purpose it serves to bring those guys back.
But he's rehabbing right now, isn't he?
Sure, but why can't he rehab for the next 3 weeks and then when the regular season's over, he just shuts it down?
We could rehab in the big leagues too. Just throw 3 innings. Just the thing is,
Yeah,
the flights are better, the food's better, the hotels are better.
We'll see. Honestly, we will see.
I'm
because
I'm sure we will. Like he's
well,
not. They're
here
not going to throw Degrom out there to throw 7 innings against the Mariners.
okay, well, hang on. You're talking about throwing minor league rehab games now. Number one, he could just if he wants to throw in rehab games, he can just go throw in Frisco, and that does not involve him traveling somewhere with the minor league team. He'd have to show up for 3 innings of one game and then leave, and Frisco is 20 minutes from Texas's ballpark. So, that's one. And then aside from that, again, you can just throw sim games until next year when you get to spring training. I am not the Rangers front office. I'm also not their medical team. But if I were to guess, I do not know what the point of bringing back Jacob DeGrom is for 2 to 3 starts at the end of the year when the team is way out of contention.
Now I get that, but if Jacob wants to pitch, then you let him pitch because he's if he's going to throw anyways. What's the harm of putting him on a big league mound?
There risk of
He
injury.
has an equal chance of getting hurt if he throws a sim game as if he gets back on the mound in a big league game.
So we'll see. Again, we'll see if he even beats the clock and gets back before the finish line and is ready to pitch by the end of the year.
Right.
But
If they do bring him back, though, to answer your question, if the Mariners are in contention, Scherzer no, DeGrom yes. Scherzer's kind of washed at this point, but DeGrom is pretty good.
yeah, he's pretty good. What else do we have? What else are people asking about today?
Super Soul on YouTube asks, could Ryan Bliss potentially start at third base / second base next year for the Mariners? I'm going to say he will not start at those positions next year, especially third base. Because he's not a third baseman. He's going to play second. He's got the arm for second base. I will say Ryan Bliss has about a 10% chance of being the Mariners' starting second baseman next year. Just because the Mariners don't think there's enough. If I were the Mariners, I wouldn't think there's enough upside in his bat next season to let him start.
So here's my question. If the Mariners are going to be cheap, try to save a bunch of money, they don't bring back Jorge Polanco next year, then what's their solution? Because they're going to be saving money, and they're going to and just to wrap this up quickly, and they're going to be forced to not spend money at some positions. So if that's the case, while I don't agree with it in any way whatsoever, does it not turn into a position battle in spring training between Cole Young and Ryan Bliss?
Let me reframe my answer. If the Mariners were trying to win as many games as they possibly could next year without anything standing in their way, then Ryan Bliss would have a 10% chance at starting at second base next year.
Yes.
Is that a better answer?
That is. Because then you go either trade for somebody or sign somebody. But if the Mariners are going to be cheap and they're going to try to save a bunch of money because they cry poor with their root sports stuff falling apart, then they may be forced to be put in a position where they don't bring back Polanco and they say Ryan Bliss and Cole Young are going to battle this thing out.
If there's a way Ryan Bliss could prove he could be like a 115 WRC plus guy next year, then I'm all ears because he does bring value on the base paths and on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not sold right now he can do that next year. And I'm not right now in the business of waiting until 2020 and letting him have growing pains at the big league level in hopes he's good in 2026 in a full-time role.
Yeah.
Because that's not where the Mariners franchise should be at right now.
No.
The focus is on the next however many games there are until the end of September and next season. That's where the focus is. None of that.
Right.
I don't think any of the other years should matter at all. We spent so much time, we love these prospects so much. But you and I both agree, 2026 should not even come into anybody's mind.
Correct. No, it shouldn't. It should be about next year and winning in 2025 after what we think will be missing the playoffs back-to-back seasons when they broke a drought and seemed to take this monumental leap forward in 2022. That's the goal. AKA why there should not be budget restrictions this winter. And that's a whole separate conversation in itself, which I'm sure the two of us are gonna very, very much dive into with possible rage and anger this winter. So we'll have plenty of time for that.
Do you want to? Let's find a question on the Instagram chat. We've done a few on the YouTube chat roll. Oh, here's another TJ Lyle. TJ McCloskey. When is Emerson Hancock going to be a full-time major league starter? I don't know.
It
He could be a full-time starter if he pitched in a different org, but I don't think the Mariners have any interest in letting him go anywhere.
right. I don't either. That's the thing. It is unfortunately for everybody involved, it may have to revolve around an injury like we're seeing right now, and maybe a long-term injury, which hopefully just doesn't happen. The Mariners need their starters intact. But with the way things are set up right now, yeah, it's a hard rotation to crack these days. Oh, I should say the other solution here is we should have started with this, is if Luis Castillo gets traded this winter, they go trade him for bats, and they don't address the rotation any further and say Emerson Hancock's gonna be the 5 starter. That would be the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's them. They would either at that point make a decision if we see enough from Emerson, this is his spot moving forward, or if they think Logan Evans or Brandon Garcia has a little bit more upside, they think those guys could step into that role. But
Mhm.
as of right now, in terms of standing, that would be Emerson's spot until proven otherwise.
Yeah. So those are probably the ways it would happen.
Oh,
See what
Steve
else.
reminding us, while at least the Mariners didn't bring back Abe Turrell. Did someone claim him when the A's cut him?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Oh,
Let's look it up.
huh. Funny.
Is he going to
I thought a player that's that good should have gotten claimed.
Is he going to Japan?
What about Korea? And Korea is more his speed.
He can play AAA.
Hmm. Did he get claimed?
I don't think so. Again, the last word on him was 1 week ago. MLB trade rumors. A's outright Abraham Toro. There hasn't been anything about him getting
Oh, so
claimed.
he's in the minor. He's in Sacramento. Wherever the A's. He's in Vegas.
He is? No, outright's different than option.
No, outright means you're off the 40-man and sent to the minors.
Oh, and nobody claimed him to put on their 40-man. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Well, then let's check his stats and see if he's actually playing down in Vegas.
I know Mr. Guarded is trying to troll right now. He says Abe Toro just signed with the M's. No, he didn't. Nope. I refuse.
Let's check his game logs. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go to his minor league page. Yeah, he did not sign with the M's. Anybody trying to troll.
Good.
Believe me, if Abe Toro signed with the M's, we'd know. Because TJ would be
Emergency
screaming.
pod time.
Yes.
Yeah, we would do an emergency podcast. Would it be positive? No. Would if we showed up to the ballpark, would Abe Toro be a huge fan of the podcast? Probably not. But got to do what we got to do. We got to speak the truth.
So, yeah, it says Las Vegas Aviators AAA affiliate. Although it looks like he's wearing a Round Rock hat, like the Rangers AAA team. But no, it says Aviators. Maybe I just have the hat wrong. But if I go to game logs, it only shows me his big league game logs. Gotta be a minor league tab, right? We're working here, people. We're trying to get you all your answers.
So while you look for that, Lau, another question here in the Instagram chat from Rance, and his question is, what hitter is available in the offseason that could fit and succeed at T-Mobile Park? Lau, on unison, let's answer this question. 3, 2, 1. Juan Soto.
Juan Soto.
Thank you.
Also, we got our answer. Okay. August 28th, A's sent Abe Toro to the Las Vegas Aviators outright, and then September 2nd, 6 days ago, he was placed on the 7-day injured list. So he is currently not playing.
Wow.
Okay.
Shame.
Yes. Yeah, it's Juan Soto because everybody else that comes to Seattle seems to not be able to figure it out.
If the Mariners want as little worry as possible of an outside player coming in and sucking, they should simply sign the best one.
No value beers, but Juan Soto.
It's fine. I'll give him up.
I would give him up.
Say the word. Another person says Santander as well. I'm all ears.
That would be
yes. All of the above.
Well, that would be choice number 2. Again, I give up value beers for either of those guys, especially because while I'm not a beer drinker, I usually go with like cocktails, like mixed drinks, I should say, because I don't know, I'm not a huge.
Too.
Yeah, I guess seltzers will. Yeah, I mean seltzers are fine. Right. Did you read the answer after Santander?
Oh, K-Tuck?
So yes, to answer your question. However, I think again that bit's been on pause for what, like 6 weeks now since the trade deadline passed. But when the offseason starts, it's coming back.
And
The Astros can't afford him.
there's nothing Kyle Tucker would want to do more than go from the division leading team to the second place team.
And from an extremely hitter friendly park to toughest hitters park in baseball. But hey, he apparently likes hitting there, so he says. Again, that bit's or not the bit. That's coming back once the offseason starts.
Yeah, it is.
Circling back.
Mariners should have a contract on the table.
Correct.
Whatever the Astros are offering, 50 mil more.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to trade for him and then extend him. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Derek sends us a super chat. Not a question, but he's encouraging other people to send super chats. If you guys want to, please feel free. We will. If you have a pressing question for us to ask, we'll absolutely get to it. And thank you for that, Derek. Really appreciate the super chat. Anything else good in here? It's been a bit of a slow. It's been a bit of a slow live stream tonight.
Well, that's what happens when the Mariners are down in the race. The Seahawks win. There's Sunday Night Football on week 1 of the NFL season. This is what happens. I mean, it's just fact. Now, if the Mariners crawl their way back into this thing, I bet you more people will want to hear about the Mariners. But this is kind of how it goes sometimes.
Oh, only to miss a playoff by one game? Playoffs?
Yeah. I don't know if I can take that again. It's happened too many times. Your hopes get so far up and they come crashing down. Okay, so you asked about questions. Somebody really wants to hear about Victor Robles on Instagram. It was from Christian Copeland. He says, will Robles continue to be this good? Is Victor Robles going to be a 900 OPS hitter? I don't think so. Is Victor Robles in a position where he can absolutely be an above average hitter and help the team win? Yeah, he can. Like, if you were to tell me Victor Robles is going to have a 110 to 115 WRC plus next season, I'd say, sure, I believe that. And then he plays solid defense. Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like at this point it's going to be let's say Randy stays. Let's say they don't trade Randy to dump salary. Does it not feel like it's going to be a Robles, Canzone platoon?
Next year?
Yeah, or Robles, Rayleigh, whichever. They'll have to make probably a decision between one of those two. Whichever one they decide to keep, Robles will be the other side of it.
Unless Canzone just stays in the minors as depth. Yeah, I would say Rayleigh's the more likely guy to see time as a platoon. One, because he can also play first base if you need him. And two, Luke Rayleigh's actually swung it pretty well the last month or so. I think Luke Rayleigh's got the highest OPS on the team right now. So I would assume it'll be Robles and Rayleigh.
So, but a platoon, a half of a platoon anyways.
Sure.
That's what it feels like. And that's what his contract essentially states as. Like, despite the hot streak, and we had the feeling, looking at him as an everyday player, but he's still probably not. But that doesn't mean he can't have a big role on the team next year.
Right. Yeah, look at this. I mean, I haven't pulled up Fangraphs because Fangraphs obviously sometimes takes a long time to load, and I don't want it to affect the live stream, but just pulling up Baseball Reference. Luke Rayleigh, 120 OPS plus, 18 home runs, 754 OPS. He's got nearly a 2.5 Baseball Reference WAR this year. That's like a pretty good year.
Well, given that it's the best year on the team besides Cal Raleigh, yeah.
Yeah. It should not be the best year on the team besides Cal Raleigh. Like, Luke Rayleigh playing a role like this should be the 6th best guy on the roster if you have a competent offense, which is good. That means Luke Rayleigh did his job, and so did the rest of the team. So it sucks that this is the best hitter on the team outside of Cal Raleigh. But just looking at Luke Rayleigh himself, yeah, that trade's worked out, at least for now. And he's also got a ton of club control. He's got 4 more years under contract.
Now people are just going to need to accept when he goes into a cold streak, it's going to be a really, 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 really cold streak with some bad swings. But that's the kind of player he is. It's kind of like Randy. But Randy's got just a tiny bit more upside. But
right.
Both off the raised tree. They not too dissimilar, just with less platoon splits. Here's another question here on Instagram. Mitch Garver over or under 80 WRC plus next year?
It's got to be over. Like there's no way he has back-to-back seasons like this again. I know it's been a really tough year, but come on. Like they signed this dude because he was a 140 guy last year. There's got to be some
Middle
regression
ground.
back to the mean, right? Like 105 ish at least. I feel
Hope
like
so.
yeah.
Let's hope so, because they're paying him $12 million next year. I think
Right.
so. It is going to be really hard for Mitch Garver to be this bad again.
Hmm.
I'm really struggling the fact that he has managed to fall off such a cliff in just one season. He's not that old.
No.
He's 33. He should not just go from a very productive hitter to one of the 10 worst hitters in baseball this season. And at the very least, Lyle, he's also not going to, like, Mitch Garver entered this season expecting to be a middle of the order bat. Mitch Garver is going to enter next season as the backup catcher.
Hmm. Right.
Different sets of expectations, different sets of approaching spring training and just relaxing a little bit, getting into a groove. So they can get a 105 WRC plus out of their backup catcher next season. I think that'll work out.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think most of the other questions were on YouTube, right? Let's see.
Let's see. Look to be patient, y'all. Astros are getting old. Going to lose Tucker and Cheater Bregman. We've got some young talent. I still believe. I'm sorry, I just can't appreciate the comment, Mr. Greta, but we can't be patient any longer. Like the Astros were supposed to collapse last year. They were supposed to collapse this year when they were 10 games behind the Mariners, and well, see how that worked out. Didn't seem to matter all that much. So the
This
only way the Astros will actually be dead is when the Mariners win the division, and they don't.
this is the same guy in the comments, Mr. Guarded, that said, I just got an update. Abe Toro's a Mariner. I got an inside scoop from Stanton, is what he said.
Well, point still stands.
Yeah. Let's see. Are we right?
I do think we're running out here a little bit.
That's
It's
fine.
a little light pickings here.
That's all right. And it's like 8 o'clock anyway, so we can start to wrap it up. If
Let's get one
everybody's out
more
of
in here.
questions, what's up?
Let's get one more.
Okay.
Someone's complimenting your quads. Nice job, Lyle. Is that Brock? No.
Brock's burner YouTube account? No, I don't think so.
No, interesting. Okay.
Oh, okay. Here's the last one. I've seen this now a couple times. Is Edgar going to return next year? A couple of different people have asked that. I don't think he's going to. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The more comments I hear, the more like JP Crawford's comments after Friday were pretty telling. I thought. I don't think that guarantees Edgar's going to be back. I do think there's you know what I think first matters. Does Edgar want to do it for a full season instead of a month and a half? That's the first question that needs to be answered. And Lau and I cannot answer that question here. But I think if he was willing to do it, I feel like he'd be the favorite for the job.
Yeah.
Just hearing some of those comments from JP, like really accepting of the approach he was bringing. And at this point, Lyle, we're data geeks. We love the analytics. But he was talking about how simple the approach was and not overcomplicating things. And if that's what it takes for this team to hit, I'm going to become a grizzled old vet who hates all numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I would say, look, Edgar's still going to have a role with the team. That's not going to change. He just may go back to the role he was serving before the final month and a half of the season, where he was asked to be the hitting coach again, where he's kind of in an advisory role. He helps at the major league level. Sometimes he'll help some of the minor league guys. He's in one of those front office type roles where he's a hitting advisor, hitting specialist. If the Mariners really think it's going to make that much of a difference to their team next year to keep Edgar as the hitting coach, yeah, maybe they either give him enough of a sales pitch or they up his pay a little bit or whatever it takes to get him to do it long term. Sure. I won't guarantee it since they said it was interim, but there's a chance he could stick around if they really think it's a difference maker.
And even if he doesn't get the hitting coach role, I'd be shocked if he isn't around helping out during homestands.
That's what I'm saying.
Year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like the advisor role. But this year it felt like it was more hands on because of the struggles offensively. But like, if they needed him to help, he still could,
For
even if
sure.
he doesn't get the job.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I don't know what kind of person Dan Wilson is looking for. He like odds are he's not going to hire like a Jarrett DeHart type, right?
No, probably not. Unless it's more of an organizational hire and
Hmm.
it's like a front office decision to hire somebody like that. Yeah, if it was up to Dan Wilson, he'd probably keep Edgar.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. That'll be one of the big questions we'll have to answer this offseason as it goes along with making the team better, not trading players away to dump salary. So that'll be
Mhm.
pretty important.
Mhm.
Well, this has been a fun live stream again, Lyle. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in forever, wherever and whoever and however you are watching. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Marine Layer Pod, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, uh, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Find us on YouTube. Search Marine Layer Podcast on YouTube. Look for the teal logo. Hit subscribe. Turn the notification bell on. Make sure you never miss one of these live streams every single Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific. Go follow Lyle and I, too, on Instagram and on Twitter so you don't miss anything. That'd be great. Well, appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.